I would say Cry the Beloved Country, which I read as a boy, and it taught me about something I'd never heard of, apartheid and racism in South Africa. The Seven Pillars of Wisdom, which I still think is one of the greatest books, and probably the greatest film, the David Lean version of the book. As for another written piece, I may surprise you, it's not very long, it's very short. I think the greatest single uttered piece of literature ever was the Gettysburg Declaration. It said everything. And I can read it and read it and read it and think that man stood on the 19th of November, 1863, by the cemetery in Gettysburg, and he spoke for 3 minutes and 18 seconds. After Stimson, I think, had spoken for 2 hours. And nobody remembers a word that Stimson said, but every single word of the Gettysburg Declaration is, I think, burned into the memory of anybody who has any regard whatever for government of the people, by the people, and for the people.
It's Everard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Andrew Roberts.
Well, my 3 books, actually 2 of them have the same title, Decline and Fall. I was at university when I read Gibbon's Decline and Fall, and I love Evelyn Waugh's book of the same name. The third one would be P.G. Wodehouse's Code of the Worcesters. That would be the one that I would take to the desert island.
Fry?
It's almost unbelievable, because I've just written down Code of the Worcesters. That I would join you in that any time. Just to be different, I'll put Right Ho Jeeves, which is the one with the famous Market Snodsbury school prize-giving speech by Gussie Fink-Nottle, if you're familiar with the canon. But yes, I would have to have Woodhouse there. He was an enormous influence on me when I was young. I wrote to him when I was a boy and got a letter back. It's one of the most exciting moments of my life. And I little knew that I was going to play the part of Jeeves on television. And he sent me a signed photograph, which I hadn't asked for. I was just thrilled beyond belief. And I still have it. And it was in my trailer, as we have as actors on film things. And every day that I played Jeeves, as I pulled the trousers on, I would look across. I didn't actually kiss it, but I would wink at that photograph saying to Stephen Fry, all the best, P.G. Wodehouse. And it's one of the prized possessions of my life. Another book, it's again a short story, or a short story, a novella, I suppose you might call it, Alain Fournier's Grand Monde. I think so often, as with love, it's just happened to be, when I read it, it just hit me with a great force. It's an extraordinary melancholy book written by a great writer who died very early in the First World War, so his life was taken from us. He never wrote anything else. It's also known as the Lost Domain. It's a dreamlike book of great beauty. And the last one will cause a lot of groans, but for sheer prose brilliance, I don't think it's ever been matched in English, and that's Ulysses by James Joyce, and I read it every year. No, I don't understand all of it. I don't think it's a crossword puzzle, on the other hand. I don't think one is supposed to decipher it. There are books you can read to go alongside it that help you with it, if you like. As long as you know the basic structure follows that of Odysseus in Homer, you can get the fact that each chapter has a smell, a color, a theme, an idea. But it is the sheer beauty of the prose that still
I remember
makes me shudder.
buying it as a student when I just arrived in England, and took it home and was astonished to realize, first of all, that it only happened during the course of a day. And when I went to look at the back pages, I saw that there was no punctuation. And I went back to the bookshop and I said, look, you've given me a dud copy. I want one with punctuation.
It's only the last chapter that has no punctuation.
I always look at the end first.
But what is the last word? What are the last words of Ulysses? Yes, yes, yes. It's the most affirmative work of literature. It's unbelievably wonderful.
It's like Dickens arriving back from America, home, home,
Yes.
home, 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 7 homes.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, if you want to ask me, I think The Great Gatsby has got to be one of the most perfect novels of all time.
I agree with that.
I don't think you can really beat that. And I think Right Ho Jeeves, I think, will be my choice. I think Gussie Fink-Nottle, with his obsession with newts and so forth, and that novel is it just makes one laugh out so loud that it doesn't matter how depressed you are. And I really would commend all of you to always carry that volume in your briefcase, because when you come through security, you will need that. And I think the third one would be E.M. Forster Howard's End, because it's got everything in it as well. It's got murder, it's got coincidence, it's got love, it's got treachery, it's got broken promises. It's just got so many things in it.
And the best description of music in any novel I know, don't you think? The Wigmore Hall concert of Beethoven's Fifth.
Of course, yes, absolutely. Which movement?
Well, particularly the third, he goes where Tibbles goes on about the drum transition.
Yes. And I actually think, as a bonus, I don't know whether you all know, but Laughter in the Dark by Nabokov, I think is an absolutely marvelous novel. I just love the plot. You know, we talk about story, about the blind man who lives with his wife and suddenly realized that there was actually a lover in it as well, and that he sets out to murder him. And it's quite complicated. All right. And you talk about the Seven Pillars of Wisdom. I remember Sale of the Century with Nicholas Parsons. He said, who wrote Seven Pillars of Wisdom? And somebody said, D.H. Lawrence. He said, well, it was T.E., I'll give it to you.